Hi, I'm Nick Holland, Bronte biographer, and welcome to the House of Bronte. And in today's episode, we're going to look at the death of Emily Jane Bronte. It's December the 23rd, and I hope your Christmas preparations are well underway. If you celebrate Christmas, my preparations are going well. But of course, Christmas time, this festive period, can be a difficult one for a lot of people. It can be a difficult time, and it certainly was in Haworth Parsonage in Christmas 1848, because just days earlier, on the 19th of December 1848, the great genius, the great writer Emily Jane Bronte died. It was a particularly hard time for all the people who loved Emily, her family, because just months earlier, Emily's brother Bramwell Bronte had also died. Now, you may know Bramwell Bronte later on in his life became addicted to alcohol, became addicted to opiates, to drugs, to laudanum, and he was in a real mess by the time 1848 came around. But he didn't die of addictions of drink or drugs, or they undoubtedly weakened his system. The death certificate gave his cause of death as marasmus. That means wasting, a wasting associated with tuberculosis consumption, as they called it at the time. And just months after Bramwell Bronte's death, Emily Bronte died also of consumption. And if we could fast forward it a few months, the tragedy wasn't over. Again, less than half a year later, Anne Bronte would become the third of the Bronte siblings within a year to die of consumption. And we'll look in another video, another episode, we'll look at why that should be, because Haworth was a very unhealthy village at the time. A lot of people died every year, mainly from typhoid, typhus, cholera. Tuberculosis was a relatively rare killer in Haworth, and yet these three siblings died so close together. And was there a reason for it? We'll look at that in the new year, in 2025. But today we're going to look at the impact that Emily's death had on her family. Now, Emily Bronte was an amazing genius. Everything she did, she was good at. We hear she was brilliant at baking bread. She was brilliant at learning languages. She was an amazing poet. She wrote, in my opinion, many's opinion, the greatest novel of all time, Wuthering Heights. She only managed one novel, caught consumption somehow, and she was dead. And she wouldn't take any medicine. That was a hardship for her family. They were encouraging Emily, when it was obvious she was ill, to take solutions at the time, like Gobald's vegetable balsam, for example, a popular anti-tubercular medicine. And Charlotte's publishing friend, W.S. Williams, we'll hear more of in a moment, he was a big fan of homeopathic medicine, and he wanted to send Emily Bronte some homeopathy remedies. Emily wouldn't take any of them. She said it was all quackery, and of course, by modern medical standards, 19th century medicine was quackery at this time. They'd no idea how to combat the disease, and certainly none of the medicines would have had any effectiveness. But people at the time didn't know. They thought they were helping. And still, Emily refused to take any medicine. So we had to just watch her getting weaker and weaker. She insisted on doing her normal job. She insisted on feeding her dogs, for example. And we hear just a few days before she died, she was feeding scraps of meat to Keeper, her dog, and Flossie, Anne Bronte's dog. A draft of wind came under the parsonage door. She was so weak it blew her off her feet. She wouldn't be helped up. She had to get up herself. She became very, very weak, very thin, which is a sign of tuberculosis, coughing up blood, another classic sign of terminal consumption, tuberculosis. And they had to watch all this develop over 2 or 3 months and getting worse and worse. And by December 1848, it must have been a gloomy run up to Christmas. I'm going to read from this book now. Selected Letters of Charlotte Bronte, by Oxford University Press. I recommend this book. It's an amazing book. Charlotte Bronte was an incredible letter writer, incredible writer, full stop. Her letters really reveal her character and amazing mind that she had. But these letters are going to reveal the depths of despair that she came into. So we'll start off with a letter sent from Charlotte Bronte to W.S. Williams. On 20th of December 1848, the day after Emily's death, Charlotte wrote this letter to W.S. Williams of her publisher Smith, Elder and Co. He was a regular correspondent by this time of Charlotte, they were friends. Charlotte begins, "My dear sir, when I wrote in such haste to Dr. Epps, who was a tuberculosis specialist, disease was making rapid strides, nor has it lingered since. The galloping consumption has merited its name. Neither physician nor medicine are needed more. Tuesday night and morning saw the last hours, the last agonies, proudly endured till the end. Yesterday, Emily Jane Bronte died in the arms of those who loved her. Thus the strange dispensation is completed. It is incomprehensible as yet to mortal intelligence. The last 3 months, ever since my brother's death, seemed to us like a long, terrible dream." That was Charlotte's letter to W.S. Williams, or part of it. 2 days later, it was Emily Bronte's funeral, and we hear that Emily's dog Keeper was at the head of the procession, sat in the front pew, and Ellen Nussey, a family friend, wrote how Keeper never regained his cheerfulness. He was mourning Emily for the rest of his life. But it's Ellen Nussey, the next letter, 23rd of December, the anniversary of today, 1848. "Dear Ellen, Emily suffers no more either from pain or weakness now. She never will suffer more in this world. She's gone after a short, hard conflict. She died on Tuesday, the very day I wrote to you. I thought it very possible then she might be with us still for weeks, and a few hours afterwards she was in eternity. Yes, there is no Emily in time or on earth now. Yesterday we put her poor, wasted, mortal frame quietly under the church pavement. We are very calm at present. Why should we be otherwise? The anguish of seeing her suffer is over. The spectacle of the pains of death is gone by. The funeral day is past. We feel she is at peace. No need now to tremble for the hard frost and keen wind. Emily does not feel them. She has died in a time of promise. We saw her torn from life in its prime. But it is God's will, and the place where she is gone is better than that she has left." That's what Charlotte and Patrick and Anne Bronte were having to endure in this Christmas period, 1848. Well, like Charlotte Bronte said, sagely said, Emily suffered no more. And Emily had a very straightforward attitude to death. And we see it from a poem she wrote years earlier called The Old Stoic. And this was part of a collection that made up poems by Currer Ellis and Acton Bell, the very first Bronte book. The Old Stoic is one of the greatest poems. In it, it's a short poem, but it sums up Emily's attitude to life and to death. The Old Stoic. Emily wrote, "Riches I hold in light esteem, and love I laugh to scorn, and lust of fame was but a dream that vanished with the morn. And if I pray, the only prayer that moves my lips for me is lead the heart that now I bear, and give me liberty. Yes, as my swift days near their goal, 'tis all that I implore, in life and death, a chainless soul, with courage to endure." And those closing four words, "with courage to endure," can be seen in Westminster Abbey now, there on the Bronte Memorial in Poets' Corner in Westminster Abbey. So Emily lives on eternally. Her work lives on in our memories of people who love her work and love her life. Emily will always live on, same as Charlotte and Anne Bronte, and we'll always celebrate them. So if you like this video, press like, subscribe. We'll have cheerier videos. We'll have a Christmas video in a couple of days. I'll be cheerier, I promise. But the Bronte story was often filled with tragedy, certainly filled with early exits. But they left a legacy that will last forever.